Hello and welcome to the F1 section of the Robbos Gobcast with me, Mark and Connor. So today we've got multiple discussion topics, but first, please go and check out the Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook in the description down below. You can also click on the subscription box, which will be in the bottom right, and click for notifications to get notified for every video that we do on the channel. So first of all, let's get into the subject. But first of all, how is everybody? Mark, we'll go to you first because it's your podcast. Hello, Mark.
I'm all
don't
good.
want the sack.
I don't. Want the sack. I'm absolutely, yeah, you're close. No, I'm all right. It's nice to try. So the reason why Josh is doing this is I want to explain a little bit more reasons to the decision of doing this. Was I had epiphany that we need to get people that are very experienced in the subject we're discussing to start hosting the shows. I am very good at being a fan, and I'm very good at being controversial and saying pieces that don't want to be said. But we want someone that is up and coming, that is who has the longevity of a point where if I'm not around, can take over and take this to the next level. So the reason why as well I've done this now is because, one, it's the off season. So there's enough time to tweak things and work on things and do things. Secondly, at the same time, in the next few weeks, coming up to the end of January, I'm going to be testing different things on this podcast to see what works, what doesn't work, what is right, what isn't right. And then what we will do is I will make a decision at the end of January what's going to happen. Because the reason why is, since I've started this podcast, I've just planned for now. What I want to do now. I haven't planned for what I expect this podcast to do in 6 months to a year to 2 years' time. So I'm now making sure that I set up the foundations of this podcast that will have the longevity of, even if I don't do this anymore, which at this time being, there's only one way I would stop, the longevity is someone can take what we've got and carry on. That's the reason why we're doing this. And the only other person is he is now on all of them, bar one. I think the only one you're not on is
I'm not on wrestling.
Is wrestling. I think that's the only one you're not on. Is to get someone.
Sunday. That's up for debate.
Yeah. So it's one of those where I want to get someone who I trust, who I feel like can take this to the next level, and that's why Josh is doing that going forward. But apart from me being on a diet and fucking hungry every 2 minutes, I'm all right.
Good. How are you, Con? How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm absolutely shattered, Doug.
Sleep patterns out the window. Lockdown. Sleep pattern out the window.
It is sleep pattern out the window. Wake up every morning for school. Go on a run at lunchtime, and I'm absolutely shattered.
Yeah,
I have kids, so I can't have an excuse of sleeping all day, going all night and sleeping all day. I'm up at like 8 every morning, 7, 8 o'clock, with their stupid asses waking me up.
Your daughter still goes to nursery, doesn't it? Doesn't your daughter still have to go to nursery and stuff?
Yeah, so she can still go to school, which is fucking lovely. I mean, oh no.
Oh no, what a shame!
Oh, what a shame!
Oh no, I have to. She has to go away for a few hours. Oh no.
But no, so there's been a lot of news in the past 48 hours, really, because this. I'm not going to lie, I went to write the notes the other day, and it looked fairly bleak. There wasn't cool to talk about.
I do see you have changed it.
I think Wednesday and Thursday seems to be the day of news. There's always news on a Wednesday and a Thursday.
I saw you changed it very.
Yeah, I just added.
It was very late.
From this morning, I added the news.
Yeah.
Which is topic number 1. Imola's back again. It seems to be a permanent fixture that Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix will return, and it will be the second race of the season this season. Obviously, Bahrain is first, then it's Emilia-Romagna or Imola, then there's that 3 slot still, and then we go back into a bit more normality, I feel. minus the fact that Australia has also been postponed to just before the Jeddah Grand Prix in Saudi Arabia in mid-November. So certain dates have changed for that to become possible. So because obviously Albert Park for a lot of people is a nice track that we all like to go to. And hopefully it will actually be decent enough that in November we might get some horrific weather because it'll be their summer, won't it? Because
they're backwards.
I'm just
it could be really hot and make it really harsh for the drivers and the tyres, hopefully.
I don't know where it is. I'm trying to find the calendar.
It's interesting as well, if we look through that calendar, that China has gone.
That's been postponed for now. So there's a chance they could slot it in. There's a week between Brazil and Australia free, so possibly slot it in there. Or it could. I think there'll still be a lot of shuffling between now and the whole in the season, because they could easily flip round the Imola and the Spain, the TBC weekend, and China back in.
Josh.
Yeah.
The thing with slotting China between Mexico and Brazil is the logistics. I think it could be.
Well, maybe Brazil, between Brazil and Australia.
That could definitely well work. Yeah.
Mm.
I think that looking at it, that would be better in terms of getting the cars and stuff over.
Because we're kind of going that way anyway.
Exactly. Yeah.
I saw a thing with that to be confirmed one is going to be between Portugal and Turkey. I saw that today.
I would want Portugal.
I would want Portugal. Even though everyone likes Turkey.
I like Turkey. I want it to be Turkey.
But it was I think Turkey was saved by the weather.
Turkey.
It's not gonna. I'm not gonna lie. It's not gonna rain in Turkey in mid-April to early May.
No, it'd be
Josh,
fucking
Mark
hot.
is always right. Don't challenge him.
Mark is always right.
Don't challenge him at all.
I might get a T-shirt made of that. Mark is always right.
It's 2-1. So
Why always me?
I am the Balotelli of the podcast.
Well, Balotelli's come up in too many podcasts recently.
It has. He's coming up in nearly all of them. I think he's come up on he come up on the conversation on the Instagram live I had the other day as well.
The last two podcasts, the live stream and this one now. Perfect.
Yeah. I think I might have a fascination with him. I'm not going to lie.
But yeah, so as expected, the Bahrain Grand Prix is set to start off the calendar for the first time since 2006. I believe. First time it started the calendar since 2006, a season where Fernando Alonso won his second and his back-to-back World Championship with the Renault team, where he will be returning, which segues lovely into Cyril Abiteboul has announced he will not lead the Alpine team, the reformed Renault, into the future. He has decided to leave now, which I found quite funny, because he's just signed Alonso on this massive contract for a season or two, and he's gone. We'll get rid of Ricciardo, proven race winner, and stick in Alonso, who's Mr. Controversial, and go sign him on a big contract and get rid of him. What are your guys' opinion on him getting Alonso in?
Okay, so I'm going to go on a two-parter to this. So the one with Alonso coming in, I think, was the wrong decision. But I think at the same time, it was the correct decision to get rid of Ricciardo. I think if you look at Renault as an industry... Well, no, his contract was up, didn't sign contract with McLaren, blah, blah, blah. But if they offered him a bigger contract, he would probably have stayed. Money starts to talk at a certain point. But then if you look at the performance of Renault, I had a little bit of history, looked at a bit of the statistics for you. See, I did research. If you look since 2017, when he became team principal, if I'm correct, in 2017, they finished 6th in the constructors. Then in 2018, they did their best finish under him with 4th. And then the 2 years after that, they both finished 5th. And in that time, the drivers he's had, if you look at the drivers he's had, they've been young-ish, up-and-coming drivers. He's had Carlos Sainz, Ricciardo was, Ocon was with them as well. Hulkenberg was sort of getting his feet under there as well and then left.
Yeah, Hulkenberg was kind of brought in to lead the team, wasn't he?
Yeah. So for me, I think so if you look at Renault as a car manufacturer, which I'm going to presume, which I'm going to sound dumb here, but I'm going to go for it, is they have their own engine, don't they? They make their own engine. They use their own. Yeah.
They're
So,
one of the now 3, 4
so for me, if you look at the car manufacturers at the top of the grid, you're talking about self-made manufacturers. Is you've got Mercedes first, Ferrari were and normally are second. Then you've got Red Bull, who don't make their own engine. You've got Honda and all of that, and then you've got McLaren that sometimes do or use whatever they've got, and then you've got Renault. So for me, I feel like as a car manufacturer themselves, they've underperformed a lot, especially in the races as well. It just feels like they're missing something. They're missing that. I wouldn't say killer instinct. It might be that where they just need to get a job done
that
and they don't do it.
That kind of throw balls to the walls. Let's put it all on this.
Which Fernando Alonso will do. He will
bring.
He will bring experience and he will bring knowledge that probably the works company need to have. Is he the right direction to go for the future? Absolutely not. But is he going to solve the problem that they need here and now?
Possibly.
Yeah.
He might piss off some people along the way.
He might. He's going to. It's one of those. He's going to.
Yeah, he's going to piss a lot of people off along the way, but he will bring results. He was able to drag that McLaren car up the grid when it was diabolical. And yeah, so what I also wonder is, will he get his tattoo? Will Cyril get his tattoo?
I think he has to, no matter what. It was a bet for the season. He has to get it.
Yeah, but it might be his like little get me out of jail free card.
Might be.
So let's talk about his replacement. So the favourite for the head principal job is Martin Budkowski, I'm going to guess it as. He's a Polish engineer who's been with Renault since the summer of 2018. Summer of 2018, he's been with Renault. He's previously had stints with Prost GP, Alain Prost's F1 team based in the late 90s and early 2000s, Ferrari, McLaren, and he even had a stint with the FIA. So he's been around F1 for 2 decades, over 2 decades.
If they bring him in, then obviously you've got the experience there, which is very good when you're coming into not the unknown, but different.
A new role.
And a new role. And I think previous person, I don't know his name, Cyril, I think he's put down good foundations, the best he could have done with what he got given and stuff like that. I think he's put down good foundations for possibly this new Polish guy to come in, work with the 2 drivers and get them higher on the grid, but also the championship.
He might come in. So from what I've seen, he's a bit like what they did with Mattia Binotto at Ferrari, where they promoted from within. So that's kind of what it looks like is happening. And obviously, Ocon has seemed to, according to Ricardo, help him improve as a driver. So maybe Ocon could do the same with Fernando, help him improve because of obviously being younger.
Going back with Alonso, it's like I said, I think it was the first one we did, not the award show, the one after. I said it's going to take him time.
Yeah, and it will either go very wrong or work.
There's no doubt Alonso, it's going to take him 5 to 8 races to strongly not get back to where he was, because that's going to be very, very challenging, but to get up to a good challenging position where you're up there in.
See, I don't think he's going to challenge. I don't think he's going.
You don't think Alonso's going to?
No, I don't think he's going to challenge as much as what everyone else is making him out to be. I could be completely wrong. I think the more surprising this season is I do think that Ocon is going to outpoint and outperform Alonso to a point where everyone's going to realise, I think Renault needs to become a company where, if we look at it, it should have been a destination for Mick Schumacher. I think it needs to be a destination where. No. But I'm just saying, it's one of those destinations where you're a works team, and I think that you need to have an up and coming driver who you're going to build. The way that I look at it is, you look at Mercedes, they were shit until Lewis Hamilton turned up. Michael Schumacher Sr. didn't do very well. So what did they do? They built a car, a fucking rocket, around Lewis Hamilton. And then look what's happened since then.
Driver.
7 world titles, 7 Constructors' Championships back to back. Yeah. The most that anyone's ever Constructors' Championship. And that's what Renault need to do. Alonso will get to a point where he will be good. He will not be the driver. I don't think he will turn out the driver that Renault want. I think they've used him as publicity and merchandise sales more than they think they're going to get a driver out of it. My opinion.
I think with Alonso and the whole Renault team, it's good to have experience, because then Alonso can sort of point Ocon in the right way on a few things. But then again, it's also good to have young, upcoming drivers. So as a team,
and Ocon's find his feet as well in the second half of last season.
Exactly. So I think young drivers, to bring them in, it's good to have that, because as a team, as a driver duo, you can build each other. And I think with Alonso, he's possibly used to an older style of racing to what happens now.
Yeah.
So I think he's going to have to adjust to next season very quickly. But Ocon has already got that advantage because he was in it last season.
He's got that almost find the season where he can find space. I don't know if it's sort of controversial to say, because it's a very touchy subject, but I think, sadly, if Antoine Hubert hadn't passed away at Spa, I think he would have been in that Renault seat this coming season. I think it would have been him and Ocon in the full French team, 2 French drivers in a French team, and he's a very quick driver, Hubert, on his day, and he deserved to win it. He won in GP2 at Le Castellet in France. So it proved that he had pace, and I think if he had sadly not passed away, he would have been in that Renault seat for 2021.
Yeah, no, I agree on that. I think Renault need to really, after the next 2 years of when the proper regulations come in next year, is they need to really look at themselves and see where they want to be as a company and as a force in Formula One. Are they going to be the ones that are like, are they going to be like what Aston Martin are, or Red Bull, not Red Bull, Alpha? Fuck me. Who are they fucking called? Who are Aston Martin taking over from?
Racing Point.
Thank you. Fuck me. My brain was not working. Are they going to be another Racing Point? Are they going to be where you have an experienced driver with an unexperienced person? Are they going to be like a Williams, where they're going to get 2 inexperienced, but at the same time give them a good car underneath them to show them if they can perform? Or McLaren, where you have a regular who's always at the top with someone that's doing very well, but is not old, but you're going to class him as nowhere near the title, like maybe Vettel and Alonso in that bracket are, but you have someone with experience like a Ricardo and someone who's older. It's one of those situations where I think Renault really need to look at themselves to see what they're going to be. I think they can do very well, and I think they will get better if they promote within. I think if someone knows their company inside out, I think it will help them. But I don't think Alonso
definitely.
Alonso is not the choice.
The only way to make Alonso a winning idea is if he wins a race. The only way to make Alonso the right decision is if he wins a race in that Alpine car next year.
That's they're not Renault anymore, are they? They're Alpine, aren't they? that
That's
German
the only way he becomes
shampoo in it.
No, that's a different. Yeah, different.
Same fucking thing.
Yeah. So yeah. So let's move on to other news, which is Lewis Hamilton once again. Another week's gone by. Another time he hasn't. Another week. Another week he hasn't signed a deal.
He's really taken his time with this one.
He has, and I've read a few things, all contradicting each other in every manner possible. So yesterday I read that Andrew Hamilton, his father, is confident that Lewis will stay in F1 after Lewis has spoken to him. Obviously, his dad had a big part in his karting career and his early career at McLaren, because he used to be at every race. Was his agent until Lewis gave him the sack for the right reasons, I think. Because I think Lewis would have stayed at McLaren if his dad was still his agent.
Mm-hmm.
But his father has hinted that Lewis might be getting a new deal at Mercedes after talk, saying that he's not ready to change series of racing and that he's happy at Mercedes. However, and that was rumoured by The Express. However, everyone's favourite credible source, The Sun, has come in and said Mercedes are now prepared for a curveball with the fact that Lewis Hamilton may not be signing a deal, and that Williams are also preparing for a curveball, that Russell will leave and they will most likely promote Jack Aitken, which I would quite like, because I quite like Aitken.
I think that would be obviously that would be absolutely massive for both teams.
For both teams, because Williams
with Lewis, I think it's just the fact of he's got to take every offer he gets put in front of him with careful consideration. He's really got to look into. He's got to look into the team, but also he's got to look into how he's going to do and what's been put on the table by Mercedes. And then if obviously he'll probably reach the target they put out for him, because he's an absolutely incredible driver. But then if he leaves, you've got to think about what effect would that put on Mercedes with bringing an inexperienced F1 driver like Russell. And obviously he's driven with Mercedes before and he had an absolutely cracking race. But it's still, you're bringing that inexperience into a team that has dominated for the past 7 years. So is that going to affect the team?
Yeah, and especially with Lewis could go, you know what, I want a year off, I want a sabbatical, take his year off and go, you know what, he's got it in a year's time, he's got the pick of teams. He can go, any team would probably take me, so let me have a look around and I'll go to the fastest one, or looks like the fastest one, which I could see Lewis doing at this point. But it's such a Lewis thing to leave it to the last minute. And then he'll sign a bumper deal for 2 years of 50 million quid or whatever a season. And we will all have to sit there and go, you know what, fair play, because you've probably scrambled Mercedes into signing you a deal and getting extra money to basically just drive around at the front of the grid for another easy year or possibly 2, depending on how quick that Mercedes car is in 2022.
I'm not too sure how many offers they put in front of Hamilton.
Apparently he rejected another one fairly recently.
But again, you've got to think about what are Mercedes. It's not just on Hamilton's part. It's not just he's rejecting the offer because he doesn't like it. It's what Mercedes are doing wrong to put the contract in front of him.
Yeah,
what
and
can they make
value him at as well?
Exactly. What can they put better on the contract so there's a higher chance that Hamilton's going to go, yeah, I will race with you for another season or two. But yeah, it just goes down
not
to
financial stupidity to just throw 600
it's 50-50.
million.
It's both of them coming to a mutual agreement, which is obviously.
Yeah, you go.
Which it's both of them coming to a mutual agreement with, Hamilton goes, right, I want this, this, and this. And Mercedes go, yeah, we want the same, but also we want this, this, and this. And they've just got to get the contract right before the time is up. And Hamilton goes, you know what? No, I'm gone.
Yeah, and the later they leave it, the more stressful it becomes on not just them. Or for them, it's quite. I don't think it's that stressful. For them, I think they can go, you know what? We can just pay off Williams. We'll nab Russell. Then Williams are in this position where they go, shit, we need a driver.
Exactly. And that's the
thing. And the thing is with Williams, do they go with Tictum or Aitken, who's from a young driver program, who have both done well in F2 in the past, but will both be rookies, and then you'll have Nicholas Latifi as your senior driver, or do you go, we'll pay Nico Hulkenberg lots of money, he'll sit in the car for a season, and then we'll promote.
And that's the thing. In recent seasons, Williams have struggled to get up on the grid. They've struggled to get anywhere near points on the championship. So is letting Russell go and bringing in an inexperienced F1 driver who, I think if I'm right, only raced about 1 or 2 races last season.
Aitken raced in Sakia. Aitken's never raced F1.
Yeah. In F1, obviously he's been great in F2 because he's come up to F1. But is it the right move if they're trying to get up on the grid? I think they should stick with Russell if Mercedes allow it. Work Russell up until they're at a level that they can bring in an inexperienced F1 driver and he makes a effect.
Yeah, see, I think the thing is, if Russell goes, Williams will either have to part with a lot of money to get Hulkenberg, who I think if I was in charge of Williams, I'd go for Hulkenberg, because having Latifi, who's been in the Grand Prix seat 1 year, who got out-qualified by Russell at every opportunity and just out-qualified Aitken in his first race.
I'm going to say something controversial here.
Here we go.
This is why I'm on the podcast. If Williams are going in the direction that they're going, I can't see them throwing money. I see them working with things. The way that if I was Williams, and I'm not saying I am, so don't go with this, and don't think this is going to happen. And thank God I'm not. Thank God I'm not. If I was Williams and Russ, let's hypothetically say that Lewis doesn't sign a new contract, unfortunately. Touch wood, it doesn't happen because I hope he stays, breaks a record, and then goes off into the sunset. That's where I really do hope that his career finishes. If I was Williams now, and Russell goes to Mercedes, I would go, Christian Horner, you know you ain't got Albon anymore. Why are you not loaning him to us for a season? What you've then got is Albon is then going to be in a seat for a year learning. He's then going to get Williams are going to get money from Red Bull to have Albon in that seat to a certain point. Well, you never know. It could be a point where Red Bull go, instead of chucking a shit ton of money at Hulkenberg, why don't we loan you and then or whatever money, you can save a lot of money for the car next year on Albon and let him race.
Because that's not how, sadly, Helmut Marko or Christian Horner will work. Because Helmut Marko will look and go,
oh God, I'm not saying it's going to happen. What I'm saying is, if you're thinking about this to a point where with what Helmut Marko and Christian Horner have both said is they want Albon to get experience and to learn and to get quicker. How are you going to do that? Take him out of an F1 seat? It's not going to work. The only way you're going to get Albon to progress with experience, with knowledge, with pace, with learning, is to be in a very shit car and to try and find your way to get more pace out of it. That's the only way Albon is going to learn. It's like throwing someone in the deep end with armbands when he was with Red Bull. You've just helped him, but you don't know where he could go. If you put him in like Russell proved himself because of the pace that he has in that very shit Williams car, that he worked his way up the grid, overtaking people and in qualifying as well. He did quite well on qualifying as well. So why not see if Albon can do that? Or I'm going to throw it another way. bring back Kvyat. It might not be interesting with
That would
Max
be
on the
a
grid.
safe one. Kvyat would be a safe one.
But would you put Kvyat back on the grid with Max Verstappen around? That could end in a fist fight very, very quickly.
They've been on the grid together in previous seasons where they've been...
Yeah, but Max hasn't been shagging up to Kvyat's girlfriend and the mother of his child.
Yeah. I think
he's going to go full-blown Russian where he won't break round the corner and just go, oh, that's how petty I am. That's how petty I am. That's why.
See, the thing with that, let's say hypothetically Russell goes, if you're Williams, you're either going to have to pay Red Bull a loan fee like Renault did with Science back in the day.
Yeah.
Back in the day, a couple of years ago. You have to pay a loan fee plus probably compensate the DCM team by nabbing him out of that seat for a year. Or you're going to have to pay the wages of Kvyat or Magnussen or Hulkenberg.
Grosjean.
Or someone of that ilk. Or Grosjean, but I think Grosjean will.
Yeah, I don't think go back. I'm just throwing a name out, to be honest.
Yeah, but someone of that ilk who's just left the grid and pay them their high wages. Well, no, he's an ass, isn't he? So, and ass need that money. So either pay oil money. I was like, yeah, Russia money, love that. Or you go with a young driver and go with Nicholas Latifi as your number one, which I wouldn't do because Latifi he's not been slow, but he's not been quick. He's been fairly I
think
it's one of those situations where, like with me, and I'm going to say this, and I talked about this on the NFL, where the NFL needs like a championship division. We all talk about F2 being that division, but it's not. Because if we think about it, F2 is like Spanish League football. No, that's a wrong comparison. MLS. It's like the MLS. Everyone has the same budget. Everyone has the same things. It's all down to the coaches. And it's all down to the people training them on the pitch to whoever's going to turn up. What F1 needs is a championship where you have people like young up-and-coming drivers that are going to be in that seat in the future that can learn that car, that can learn it. So if anything happens, like the situation with Russell or the situation, anything like that, you don't have to call it F2, call it F1 Championship or F1 Premier League, whatever you want to fucking call it, to a point where you have Albon's not sitting on the sidelines for a year waiting for Perez to have a crash or get COVID again. Or you're waiting for someone to have COVID so that Albon can take that seat. You have drivers or you have people, and I think this is the perfect example for Russell, is Russell's in an excellent position where he knows he's going to Mercedes. It's just when. It's just a point of when is he going there? What about Aiken? It needs to go to a point where when's he going to get in a seat where he's going to challenge? He's not going to get any better to sit in front of a computer screen and learning on the computer simulator because it's not going to help him. The only way that's going to help you is in a race situation to learn about the track, learn about things, to try and learn how to do different things. I'm not saying it has to be on a race weekend. You could do a midweek fixture where on a Tuesday, on a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday is the build up to there. And then on a Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, whatever it is, you have the F1, but you still do it in the same city. Everyone's together in your bubble, and you all can learn from each other. This is when you need those experienced drivers like Alonso would be epic for this, where he's with Renault. He could, help Ocon and the up-and-coming drivers that are in the Renault area to get to where they need to go. He could turn up at races and go, you did well, but... and why not try this bit? Why not try that? And do stuff like that. I think there needs to be a way with F1.
Logistics and money. Because if you're racing F1 in Barcelona on a Sunday, but by Monday, all the teams have to be at Monaco ready for practice for
it's all exactly. No, I completely agree. I completely agree with what you're saying. I'm just thinking of
who are struggling for money, are they going to go, so we're running two cars, we're going
but
to
then
run
it needs
four
to come to a point, but it needs to get to a point where the FIA need to step in. It's not all about situations with that. It's like if the FIA really wanted to help and make the F1 place better, Marzipan wouldn't be in F1. He's only in F1 because of the money. And that's why the FIA haven't stepped in, because they've gone in their brain. They've gone, here we go. Haas have got a lot of money now, which will mean that they will make their car better, which will mean that there'll be more competition. That's the only thinking that went through their brain.
The only thing is, so this links on to another point which I've brought up, which is cost caps coming in for next season.
Mm-hmm. And see how it helped you there? Just saying.
Unintentionally.
Always.
Oh yeah, completely. I didn't mean to.
Obviously, with the cost caps come in, you'd have to double the cost caps because you're running now 4 cars instead of 2. You're running more staff. You're running more of everyone.
Mm-hmm.
You're having to pay more drivers, and obviously in the cost cap, which the rule is drivers' wages, things like accommodation stuff, and the 3 highest staff members. So that'll normally be your team principal, your chief engineer, and someone else. I can't.
Pit manager.
Someone else within the team, something like that. Well, the 3 most high-paid staff members will not be in the wage cap or the cost cap. Sorry, so the cost cap for this season is the first season, the £145 million. I think about it, Ferrari spent I think around £200 million a year on their car, so they've got to drop £65 million in budget.
Can I go back to say one thing about Williams?
Yeah.
This is looking at it as a business point of view. You have to be willing to take risks.
Yeah.
And if they aren't open to do that, then they're not going to succeed in the long term as if they are going to take a risk. And I think a big risk would be letting Russell go and bringing Jack Aitken in.
Yeah.
Because he's young, you don't know how he's going to perform when he's being put up against. Obviously, he's not going to be up there with Lewis Hamilton and stuff, but when he's got them people on the grid and he's sat at the back of the grid in his Williams car, and you've got Hamilton up there in a Mercedes F35 Lightning car, you don't know how he's going to react to that. So it will be a big risk bringing him in, but it's just if Williams are willing to take that risk, and if Williams want to succeed in the future, then it would be a good option to take the risk.
Yeah, and the thing with Williams is that that's basically Latifi's a bit like Stroll. He's got a rich Canadian father who pays a lot of money. He doesn't own a team at Williams, but he pays a lot of money for Latifi to be in that seat, and Latifi will be in that seat for as long as he wants because his dad can fund it. And
it's like Haas.
Yeah, with Mazepin.
Sorry, Haas with Mazepin. If it wasn't for Mazepin's dad funding 50% of it, if it wasn't for him funding 50% of Haas, would Mazepin have got that seat? Because you've got to think about if he didn't get that seat,
he wouldn't be in the seat.
Would he then take the funding out of Haas, and then Haas are left in a big hole because they haven't got any funding? Well, not much.
There we go. But yeah, no, I agree to a certain point where you say about but I think it needs to get to a point where the FIA need to step in. It needs to get to a point where they need to make it a balanced field where where everyone will be able to, people are going to earn more because of the cars and all this and all that. I get that. But it needs to get to a point where everyone has the same thing and see who the best driver is and see what to go from there. I think at the same time, if you're looking at moving forward, I think Mazepin will shock people with how good he could be. I think it's a bit like Stroll. I think everyone was just thinking Stroll was in that seat, and still now, Stroll is in that seat because of his dad. And it's the same thing with Mazepin. And Mazepin hasn't helped himself with the controversial stuff he's done off the grid. But being a knob, but I think this could be I think this year he has to prove why he's got a seat. If he doesn't prove it by the end of this season why he's got a seat, he will not be there next year.
Yeah, he'll be gone.
Yeah, just That's have to be willing to get rid of the funding that they're going to get off staff.
Exactly, and it's like I said before, are Haas going to, I think, are they just relying on Mazepin in that seat just so they can get the funding?
Yeah.
I think they're relying on Mazepin's money and Mick Schumacher's driving.
Yes, and I think, are they truly...
Still has some, well, we've got to give Mazepin some credit of he does have some pace.
Yeah.
Yeah,
he has pace, and do you know what? I'm interested to see how Mazepin versus Alonso goes, because we all know how hot-headed Alonso can get, and we all know how hot-headed Mazepin can get, and we all know that I would love them to crash, to be out of the car, and they both just launch their helmets at each other, and just a free fall to happen. Just be more entertaining, and it'll be probably a better fight than watching Conor McGregor versus Floyd Mayweather, to be honest.
It'll be like a proper fist fight.
Yeah, Russia versus Spain. Who's going to win? You see Harry Hill in the background going, "Fight!"
Yeah. Right. So let's move on to some just more general news coming up. So first of all, obviously, as repeated as before, F1 testing is set to move to Bahrain now that it is the first race of the season. Logistically, it makes sense. They can go there. They can all get tested. If someone has a positive test, they have time just to stay there until they've had their 14 days or had their negative tests, and just be able to then compete in time for the season. Makes complete enough sense, to me anyway, to have Bahrain there. And it's not like Albert Park where they just suddenly build up the circuit in a street, or like Monaco. It's there all the time. It's fairly reusable. It's a fairly balanced track, the normal Bahrain circuit. It's just like it's got a bit of everything, a bit of very dynamic work, a bit of top speed. It works general practice a bit like Spain does. So
I think
it's one of those that makes sense.
I think it wouldn't have worked if Australia hadn't.
Yeah.
I think, and the pure fact they've made the right decision by moving it to Bahrain for the fact you said about COVID, and it gives drivers the chance, if they get a positive test after testing, they've got that time to isolate. They've got that time to, I know it takes months to get over the virus and the side effects of the virus, but it gives them that chance to get back up to a decent level. Because if you had testing in Spain, then you had to go to Bahrain. If one driver had got COVID, then you would have to isolate the other driver, the engineers, half the team, and that will just cause an absolutely massive logistics issue for the team, because it means, would they be able to get their car, their kit, their team over to the first track, which would have been Australia, but now obviously it's Bahrain.
Yeah, so obviously it's only rumoured at the moment, because for it to go ahead, all the teams have to approve of it. So obviously we're waiting on the decision from all the teams, but it would make sense for the teams to agree to it, because it saves you money and it's much easier logistically to go ahead for them.
Is it the majority of teams have to agree?
No,
every single team.
Every single team, because everyone already agreed on Barcelona, and then for the FI to now suggest Bahrain, everyone has to go. We'll go to Bahrain.
So if say Haas say no, I don't want it there, then they'll have to put it back to Barcelona.
They'll have to go to Barcelona still. Yeah.
They could. One team could stiff a whole testing.
It'll just be like for someone with a lot of money, Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes, someone like that. But yeah, so that's that news. Other news is obviously there's new technical regulations coming in for 2021. It's only a slight change in the flooring of these cars. It's becoming a bit more narrow to working towards what happens in 2022. So instead of it being this kind of square shape underneath the cars, it's coming a bit more in like the shape of the cars, which mean a bit less drag, less air downforce, meaning hopefully some easier to overtake moments and some nice overtakes. I think we'll have to wait to 2022 to get a real shake-up, obviously, but
I think that will be better for. I think the new design of the floor of the car will be better for teams like Williams.
Yeah.
Because if they're sat there at the back of the race for 50 to 70 laps, then that being stuck at the back means absolutely nothing to them because they don't want to be there. But if you've got the cars that an overtake would be better, then that means Williams can push, because what they weren't doing last season is because the other cars had more pace. They had just a better car overall. Were Williams putting their car up against that? But the fact now that Williams can possibly do it, that will create a big, and it's not just Williams, it's every single team that are down the bottom of that Constructors' Championship. It is absolutely massive.
And it will help the Williams become, because the Williams has Mercedes engine, which we all know, one of the most powerful engines in all of motorsport. Especially in F1. Yeah, easily up there. Reliability and pace alone, it's got to be up there with some of the best in motorsport in general. And so obviously to make the car less draggy now means, because of the less downforce, means they'll be able to enhance it more. So power, strength, like tracks where you need lots of power, your Monzas, your Spas, China, if we're going down the back straight, it gives them an opportunity to really, maximise their performance at those high-speed tracks.
That straight on F1 2020 kills me every single time. Because I just shove overtake on for that whole straight, and by the time I get to the end, I'm gone.
Yeah. So what else is coming in? If any of you have watched F1 for a little while, you might remember that Haas had a title sponsor in the 2019 season, the Rich Energy, which was a controversial sponsorship deal because of their owner Williams story. Made the car go black and gold, I think it was, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It looked quite a nice looking car, to be fair. But however, he has been a bit controversial, and he's put on his Twitter that he is planning to return to F1 after a resurgence in the company. So, controversial figure possibly coming back to F1 with a lot of money for sponsorship. We've all seen how this has happened before. I don't know if any team that isn't a Williams or a Haas or an Alfa Romeo would take a sponsorship like that. So, but even then, Alfa Romeo have the PK Orlen money from Robert Kubica. Haas have the Russia Chemicals money.
I'll tell you what, I wouldn't put it past against Aston Martin to take that money.
They've just taken one with Cognizant, haven't they?
Yeah.
Which they put up.
Oh, I tell you what, that green, that does look fucking good.
It'd be nice. It would be such. I'm worried that BWT, who used to be the sponsor, if they're still anywhat involved in the Aston Martin team, I don't think they will now. Cognizant's come in, but if they are,
that logo would just ruin that green. It needs to fuck off.
Yeah, the pink can just go away. I like the pink car, but
I didn't like it.
Do you not? You're not a fan of the pink?
No. Well, depending what pink we're talking about.
The Racing Point pink.
Can I add something to the agenda for this podcast?
Go on.
Yeah, go on then.
The suggestion of McLaren having a Formula E team.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It's good. It gives them more chance to possibly develop certain parts on the Formula E car to then put on the F1 car. But it could also mean they take some budgeting away from the F1 car. It's one of those double-edged swords.
I think it's all about money.
Yeah. Trying to find out what Cognizant is.
Obviously, you said about the cost cap. I think it could help them because it means that they don't have to focus. They don't have to focus on one car. So that could mean that the cost of their F1 car comes down because they need to put money into their Formula e-car,
He
which means
was
that
not falling behind because of the cost cap.
exactly. So that could help them.
Yeah, so quickly, as we're talking about Cognizant, it is an American multinational product-led digital corporation. So it does like IT and stuff and technology. And that's basically becoming the head sponsor of Aston Martin, a bit like Petronas has been with Mercedes, or BWT was with Racing Point. So a bit more money based out of America.
That's good. Yeah, I think that's good for money.
Yeah.
That having a big company like that is funded. It's you've seen it with other teams. The funding is sort of what puts the foundations in place to build a good team. Because if you didn't have the funding, you couldn't make a good car. Like a prime example of this is Williams. They haven't got the biggest funding, which means they can't make the best car. But if you look at Mercedes, they've got good funding, which means they can make a extremely good car.
Yeah. Very true. Mercedes, all it took was that Petronas money to start coming in, plus the introduction of Lewis, who came in and brought his knowledge, like Seb could do with Aston Martin, to get them right up that grid.
I hope he does well this year. I hope they do well, Aston Martin, and they actually start really challenging. I hope Ferrari are up there, Red Bull, and actually give a proper challenge. It's as much as I love Lewis being world champion and winning, it gets to a point where you go, okay, come on now, someone fucking.
Here's another one that I've just seen on the app. Ferrari line up old spec car test for science. Technical history.
We just had some technical difficulties because Josh needs to get a fucking proper Wi-Fi. Carry on.
Sky Wi-Fi, yes.
I was saying about it Ferrari line up old spec car test for science.
Yeah, he's allowed to do a certain amount of miles in that old Ferrari.
Yeah.
I don't know how many it is, but yeah, you're allowed, like Fernando did with the old Renault car. You're allowed to do a certain amount of mileage with the old cars. But I'm going to quickly throw this on you to finish the podcast that we've been talking about Aston Martin and Renault a lot today. How close do you think those two teams will be this season? Both with similar sort of one more younger, less experienced driver in Stroll and Ocon, and both have that more ex-world champions in Sebastian Vettel and Fernando Alonso. Who do you think will do better this season between the two, and how close do you think it will be?
Can I just say I'm not going to say any more on this until the official predictions. It's I don't have a clue. I think.
All right, if he's going to sit on the fence, I'm fucking not. I think Aston Martin are going to literally whitewash anything that Renault do. I think if you look at Aston Martin's lineup, you've got Sebastian Vettel, who for me, if he's got the right car, will be up there in the top 4, 5 every single race. And if you get in Stroll from the pole position onwards, proved why he is a very good driver and deserves to be an F1. And I don't think Renault will improve enough or will have the better drivers than what they've had for them to get any more than what they had before. I think Aston Martin will be much further ahead than Renault will be, and I don't think it will be close. I think Haas will do more or the same with Renault than what Aston Martin will.
Oh. And you don't think,
at least you've made it.
You've had your opinion on Fernando Alonso, saying you think he's shit, basically.
I don't think he's shit. I just don't think he's the right man for that car. And I don't think he's the right man to.
I think it's going to be
trying to get Mark cancelled.
It's good. It's going to be very tough. It's going to be extremely tough for Alonso because he hasn't been in F1 for a few.
I think it depends on what approach he brings to it. Is he going to bring the approach of it's all about him and he needs to get this car up? Or is he going to come with the approach where I need to help Ocon to that next level? Is he going to become in that approach? If he becomes the all about me and Ocon needs to do it himself, they're not going to go any further than what they were last year. They're not going to step further. I think Ricciardo is 20 times the driver that Alonso is now. So they've made a step down in driver. And I think at the same time, Ocon is a very good driver, but he's not great. He's a good driver. He will get you points, but that's it. That's about it. So for me, they haven't made that. Where for me, if I'm a company, if I lose someone, I wanna make that next step bigger or find a way of growing. Where they've just gone one step forwards with Ricciardo, 45 years old, step backwards. That's what I think. I think they've made a massive mistake. You can click this. Oh, hello. Bit of lighting going on.
Mazzy! It's like Blackpool
you can click this and then at the end of the season go, what an idiot you are. Or I will click this
when
and go,
Fernando Alonso wins the World Championship, his third World Championship.
If he wins the World Championship, I will get a tattoo of him on me.
Yeah, so I thought you were going to bring up the one that we spoke about on last Thursday with with Ryan and Adam.
Josh, you have to clip this now. You have to clip it that if Alonso wins the World Championship,
it's going on. It's becoming the pinned tweet. It's becoming a pinned tweet on the Twitter. I will get the clip, and it's being pinned on the Twitter. So even if,
now everyone's watched this.
If every other car crashes in Bahrain and Alonso is leading the championship because the only one to finish.
Oh fuck! Now everyone that's watching this now realizes why the title of this video is "If Alonso's World Champion." Now you know why it's called that.
We've got our clickbait. We've got our clickbait. Yes.
Now you know why.
So but that wraps
new
up
host and if
new host if Alonso wins.
Anyway.
That wraps up. Yeah, that wraps up this week's F1 show for the Robbos Gobcast. Thank you all for watching. Drop a like and any comments with suggestions, or tweet us with any suggestions you have for what you want us to talk about next week when Lewis Hamilton still hasn't found out what team he's driving for, and we're still sat here going, well, George Russell might be in the Mercedes, but we're not sure. That's all we're going to do every week until Lewis signs the deal, as Mark reveals his lovely hairline.
Just
make sure to also follow. Make sure to also follow myself and Connor's Twitters, which will also hopefully be linked in the description. Possibly, probably not.
They are. They're on every video.
They will. Love that.
Where are they? There or there?
But it's in the description, somewhere down there.
Down there somewhere.
Somewhere our Twitters will be linked. And if you ever need anything, especially in these hard times with COVID and another national lockdown, all our DMs are open to talk about whatever's possibly happening. Connor's got to go for 2 minutes. That's fine.
We're ending it now. Fuck off.
Yeah, off you go.
We don't love you. We don't want you. All right, now he's gone. Yeah. How much are we going to fuck him over to win our predictions?
You can hear us still.
He's gone out of the room. I think he's gone out of the room. I think we need to find a way, right? Because he come in late and because he might not finish the end of the season, I think we have to find a way of cheating him out.
So if he's not going to make the end of the season, then we get like 3 or 4 months of predictions where he's going to lose.
Yeah, but I'm going to be so far behind that even if he doesn't do it, I'm going to be so far behind. We need to find right. We're going to. Yeah, we're looking forward to Connor. Yeah, here it goes. Everyone, give a round of applause.
Yeah, hi Connor.
I heard every single word of that.
Told you.
I don't know what you're on about.
You're not a quiet guy. Mark, you're not a quiet guy.
No, that's a good point. It's a good point. So yeah.
So yeah, this is out on the Wednesday. Thursday, tomorrow will be the NFL. Yesterday, from when this goes out, there's wrestling. Friday, there's Reading, or possibly Reading, because obviously the football's been cancelled for the mighty Reading. And then probably not a stream, because obviously there'll be nothing to talk about.
We might do a live stream just to have a catch up with everyone. We might do a 3.
Signed Ronaldo and Messi.
Yeah, we might just do a live stream just to see how everyone's doing, make sure everyone's okay. Maybe at 3 o'clock when kickoff should have been, and maybe just have a bit of a chat during that. We'll see. We'll see how everyone's doing, and we'll see how we're all going. But yeah. And also, what I want you guys to do as well before we end this is I want you guys to go and show some love to Josh. It's very first time presenting and hosting. And I want to get as much feedback to whether I need to sack him or not moving forward. I might do an Alonso.
They're getting sacked.
A 45-year-old person who can't do the job. Just get him. So, right. Everyone, I'm ending because I need a poo. Everyone, peace, love, care. Love you lot. Bye.